Wow, a beautiful track from Penelope Houston, On Market Street, the name of the album, All the Way. Now, some of you who've been listening to the mix for the last little bit may, be surprised at the difference between the Avengers and Penelope's most recent work. But of course, the Avengers took place, in the late 70s, early 80s. And, Penelope has developed and done a whole bunch of different stuff in her career. So it's really, really cool stuff. We heard, let's see, where did we start? Way back when. Oh, we heard Crazy Homicide, The End of the World, the American and Me live version from Live at Winterland 78, the notorious Sex Pistols' last gig. And then, of course, on Market Street, we heard All the Way from Penelope. And we have Penelope Houston on the line right now. Penelope, are you there?
I am here.
Great to have you on board, Penelope. And the On Market Street album, let's just start with that since that's the last thing we just heard here on The Revolution. It's just a beautiful, beautiful record.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, how did the On Market Street, well, let's go back a little bit. You've been doing this kind of San Francisco folk scene thing now for a while, right?
Yeah, maybe 20 years now, actually.
Okay, so tell us a little about how it's played out. What's going on with it?
Well, this particular record is my first new studio album in 7 years, and it took me a while to get it going because I was busy touring with the reformed Avengers and writing songs and such. And I recorded it on my own band at Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, California.
Okay, yeah, it's just a great sound, nice production, really sweet, and your voice is, well, that's something that people are very often surprised by when they hear the Avengers, is the, you have a really strong voice and a really clear tone, even back in the days when you were pushing it a little bit. And it's just a pleasure to hear really that same voice there after all this time.
Oh, good. It's funny because there's that particular track, the first track, is a little bit maybe smoother than some of the other stuff on there, but the last track on the album, USSA, is a little bit more getting towards the pop-punk end of the spectrum of pop, I guess. And I think you can hear a little bit more of the Avenger in the last track. But there are other songs in there that are more, folk rock, and I think most of it is pretty. It sounds a bit smoother than what you hear with the Avengers, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Oh, definitely. USSA is a great tune. We're going to get to that a little later after we do the interview. But so the Avengers, your first band, really, or no?
Yes, my first band. I was 19 when the band started, and it was, I guess, these friends of mine had a space in a warehouse where they had all their equipment set up, and they had their PA set up, and one day they all left, and I was there with the PA, and I was playing records and singing into the microphone, and when they came back, I said, I'm going to be your singer, although I was actually an art student at the time. I was going to be their singer because I loved the amplification.
So you just insinuated yourself right into the band.
Yeah.
Good work.
So that was my first band.
Okay, so the Avengers came out with a couple of EPs early on. And how did that all work out? Was it a DIY thing, or were you guys signed initially, or what happened?
Oh, no. This was 1977. I don't think anybody was signed on the West Coast at that time. Really hard, there was hardly any support. There were no labels. Radio didn't play very much of what we did, and there were only a couple clubs in each town. So it was a really tiny scene back then. And we got to put out the first record on Danger House, which was a 3-song, 7-inch, which just got re-released as well on Superior Viaduct. And then after those 3 songs, I think we did some recording with Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols and some other people. And then a 4-song EP came out in 1979, and it came out right after we broke up. And then nothing happened for a few years, and then finally some band members put together the Pink album,
right,
which came out in 1983, which was kind of a collection of everything that we had our hands on at that time. And that came out.
Yeah, that's,
we were long gone, but it seemed to have its effect in the world.
Yeah, interestingly, you know, that's actually the first piece of vinyl I got from you guys was that Pink album way back then, and I still have my copy of it. So, and I understand it was a pretty limited run, but, you know, I don't sell records. I just hold on to them. But it's a great, great record, great compilation. You guys, you know, it still was a great thing. But that's the first time I really heard of you guys at the time. And, yeah, I played that a lot, that Pink album.
Yeah, I think it's true that, you know, most of the people were exposed to the Avengers through that album and in the 80s. And, of course, we'd been broken up since 79, so people just thought, you know, they were never going to get to see us play, and we were kind of like this lost band. And then that record kind of went out of print after a certain number of years, and it was in a kind of legal limbo, and I was working with other labels like Lookout Records to put together some compilations of other material, and that's when I started to do the Avengers again in 1999 with Greg, the original guitar player, and Luis Iadis of Pansy Division, and Joel Reeder from Mr. T Experience. So we all started out together. That was like 99 into the aughts. So actually that version of the band has been together for a pretty long time, going on 13 years now.
Right, it's pretty interesting, right? You guys, your first round, which is where your initial sparks came from, only lasted a couple of years, and now you guys are together longer in a reunion format, kind of, than you were originally, which is interesting, right?
You know, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, Greg Ingram, absolutely, you know, a real defining sound in the original band, and really great to have back on board since you guys, you know, have been together since '99, and real cool sound he has.
Yes, and he does it just the same now. He sounds just the same, and it's kind of amazing when we get on stage and he starts playing. It's like, wow, you know, you just, it takes you right back.
It's a time warp. That's right. Well, that's very cool. All right, so, you know, a lot of the listeners, as I was playing some Avengers earlier, I got a few calls, you know, naturally asking about the notorious 1978 Winterland gig, which, by the way, a really great record came out of that, you know, was released quite a lot of years later, live at Winterland that you guys released in '78. But you guys were one of a couple of opening acts for the Sex Pistols in their very last gig. And you want to tell us a little about that experience?
Sure. It was, up until that time, we'd been playing up and down the West Coast, and we were asked to support the Pistols, and it was certainly the biggest audience we'd ever played. It was also the biggest audience that the Pistols had ever played in front of. It was about 5,000 or 6,000 people. And we kind of figured that we knew everybody on the West Coast that was into punk. And there were a whole lot more people than that in the room. So we got out there and it was like, who are these people? And they had just kind of studied up a little bit on punk, and they came to the show, and the nuns opened the show, and they were just pelted with all kinds of stuff on the stage. People were also spitting on the stage. So when I was walking out onto the stage and to the microphone, the first thing that happened to me was I slipped on the stage, was pretty much covered in spit, and it was a little terrifying. The audience was just kind of this boiling mass of people, and I kept looking for my friends, and when I did spot someone, they would disappear into the crowd within a matter of seconds. It was just it was a pretty crazy scene, and pretty scary, and I think that they have a video of it online on a site called Wolfgang's Vault, which
right.
is a kind of a Bill Graham Presents site. And if you watch that video, you can see the nerves that, you know, how nervous I was for the beginning of the set, and how we kind of relaxed into it and then started playing, I think, much better towards the end of the set. And it was a pretty amazing night for us. And then the Pistols got up there, and, you know, people were going crazy. But for them, I don't know what they thought of it. It was a bit strange.
Yeah, they always, you know, all the film you see of that particular gig, they always seem a combination of, you know, their usual, you know, punk persona, but also they seem a little overwhelmed on stage, you know. When they're looking out, you can see they're a little, I guess maybe even they didn't expect crowds like that.
Yeah, it was really, they had just played maybe 5 shows across the U.S., and they hadn't played any major cities at all, so I think they were playing little nightclubs, and this was definitely the biggest show of that tour, but also the biggest show of their career at that point. So.
Yeah, I love how on the 78 live record that you guys put out from that very gig, how just before you're doing the American and Me, you apologize to the audience for the how crowded they all are, you know.
Yeah.
That's like really charming, actually, you know, because then you're attacking with this song.
It's a funny interaction with the audience on the songs that we included. We included 3 of those songs on the new Pink album, which with a bonus disc. There's 3 songs from Winterland on that bonus disc as well. One of my favorite being I Believe in Me, because I'm sort of addressing the crowd right there as to what they're doing at that particular show. It's kind of funny.
Okay, so the Avengers, you know, you guys, what had come out at that point? Just the first EP, it is all that had come out by the time you did the Winterland show, by the time you were supporting the Pistols?
Yes, just the 7-inch.
Okay, and then after that, was it after that you guys did the recording with Steve Jones at that time?
Yes, it was. It wasn't directly after that show, but I think they went off to South America and messed around and somehow broke up. And then later in the year, Steve Jones came to San Francisco to work with us, and we recorded some songs together.
Yes.
And then the record didn't come out until a while after that as well. I mean, until the end of '79, when we broke up in, I think, June of '79. So, our last show was in June. So, yeah, it was kind of something that got started with Steve Jones, and then he kind of abandoned it, and we ended up changing a few things, and then found a label for it. So it was very, you know, haphazard, like most of the recordings that happened for us at that period. There was really no label attached to them. It was mostly just engineers or producers saying, "Hey, I can get you in the middle of the night to such and such a studio. Do you want to come and record?" And we did.
Of course, you'd always say yes, right? That would be, of course.
Yeah, you always say yes, but you never really know what's going to happen to those tapes. And, you know, there was no direct support from anyone saying, "I'm going to put you in the studio. We're going to record all your songs. It's going to sound great." It was always like, we have time to do 3 songs, you know. 3 songs, and so everything got recorded in different places and different times and with different people producing and stuff. So,
well, that's the other thing is you guys are very much on the West Coast, especially very much ahead of your time. As you pointed out, you know, the market, they didn't even labels wouldn't even have envisioned a market for that kind of thing in '77, '78. You know,
hey, people thought the Knack was punk rock or new wave was. You know, that's bands from the West Coast that was fine. Huey Lewis and the News, you know.
That's like, right.
New wave music, great.
Huey Lewis was very dangerous on stage, I understand.
Oh, really? I think he's reforming, amazingly enough.
Yeah, well, he's going to his punk roots, you know, what could I say? But, yeah, so that initial, as the band, what was the initial reason, really, for the first breakup of the band? Was it a lack of...
well, first Greg left after we'd recorded with Steve Jones, and for, I don't know, personal reasons, I guess. And we replaced him with a Canadian, Brad Kent, who had been playing with DOA. and he had a completely different guitar style, so the sound started to change a little, and his writing style was quite different. But he did contribute to one of my favorite Avengers songs, which is Corpus Christi, which I love, and it's got some really crazy, 7/9 rhythm in it, and part of it always confounds people. But so that kind of changed the tenor of the band, and after about 6 months of playing with Brad, and still not being signed, it was the end of '79, I think that people just started wanting to go different directions. Jimmy Wilsey, who ended up playing with Chris Isaac, he wanted to go in more of a rockabilly direction. We were talking about adding a keyboard. Things just kind of got a little bit loose, and then suddenly we decided, okay, let's just throw in the towel, call it a day.
Right.
But we didn't intend for it to be a career. We were just doing it, and we were not doing it. And I wasn't really the one who made any decisions to stop the band or anything. But I also, sort of considered myself an artist, as well as a singer. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to be a singer. This is just the first step in this career. I didn't think it that way at all. I was just a punk rocker, and that was my band. And then we broke up.
Okay.
So.
And then when more interest and stuff happened years later, really, is when you guys decided to get back together.
Yeah, that was really because I put together this compilation with Lookout Records, and there was 3 songs that had not been, couldn't find good recordings of, and that was I Want In, End of the World, and Crazy Homicide. And the label asked me if I wanted to re-record those songs with Greg and let's see, Danny Panic from Screeching Weasel, and Joel Reeder, who was in Mr. T Experience at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in the studio as the Scavengers and re-recorded those 3 songs and put them on the Died for Your Sins album that was on Lookout. And so they were like, well, it'd be great if you guys wanted to play a record release party. And I was just like, I'm in the middle of all this other stuff. I was signed to Warner Brothers Germany at the time, and my own career was really moving. But I thought, okay, we'll just do this one record release party. So Greg was very excited about it. So we did it, and it got such a good response, and it was so much fun. And people started asking us to come over and play in England and stuff. I was like, okay, well, we'll just see where this goes. And it was like a snowball just gathering steam. It just got bigger and bigger as it rolled downhill. And it hasn't stopped. So,
and that's a great thing, because you guys are the songs are like amazingly tight structured, and the stuff just really holds up. And the energy in the songs, the strength of your voice, it's just, the stuff holds up, and it's just a pleasure to hear it all.
It's a pleasure to play it and to play these songs and to see people that know them, singing. And people are always excited, and they're always excited because they thought they were never going to get to see us play. So it's great to do it. We're doing it right now on the West Coast. We're in Seattle tonight, Portland tomorrow, and then L.A. and Las Vegas. And then in July we're going to go to Europe and do a full European tour to support, the release of the Pink album. And hopefully we'll get to the East Coast maybe at the end of the year or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, because that's what my audience wants to hear.
I'm out there every now and then. Joel and Luis moved to Brooklyn and Boston, so
okay.
So it's easy for us to get to the East Coast and do some shows over there. So.
Yeah, any New York...
Hounding me right now.
Yeah, I'm going to hound you right now, because New York gigs would be perfect, and, it'd be a wonderful thing.
Whenever we do a tour on the West Coast, people on the East Coast are always like, okay, so what about us?
That's right. And we have the right to say that. So... So you're doing, in addition to doing the Avengers, you're also obviously doing your own solo career. And how many records have you put out on your own for your solo career under your own name, Penelope Houston?
Well, that one on Market Street is my 7th studio album, and then I have some other material that's live and sort of collections and best of. I have a couple records that were on WIA that are out of print, but most of my records were on independent labels, and I have the rights to them and everything. But if people go to my website, penelope.net, they can actually listen to, they can stream all of my music on there. And then if they want to buy it, they can also buy most of it, except for the 2 records that were on Warner's. Those ones are only available, I think, through iTunes.
Oh, okay. All right. But you also have tons of information on your site. It's a very user-friendly site there, and people can check out all the albums and all the releases and get some more information. And, yeah, as far as your own solo career, where do you wind up playing? You also play a lot on the West Coast, obviously, mainly.
Actually, Europe.
Okay.
It's been my biggest market. I go to Germany. I just came back from 3 weeks in Germany and Italy. And this record came out on a German label as well as my own label, the new one.
Okay.
And I've always had an audience there, so that's one of my main places. I haven't actually played any solo shows on the East Coast in over a decade, I think, or maybe about, I don't know, I can't even think, 2004, something like that.
Okay.
So I should get myself over there, too. I just need to sort out how to make that work.
Well, that'll be an absolute pleasure, either with the Avengers or on your own. It'd be great to see you in New York, and that would just be a wonderful thing for us. And so tonight you guys are playing in Seattle?
Right. We're playing the Fun House in Seattle, and tomorrow we're playing Dante's in Portland. Then Friday in Oakland, we're playing the New Parish, which is a great club. And then LA on Saturday, and then we're playing at the Punk Rock Bowling Madness in Las Vegas on...
That actually sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is going to be fun. It's great to be playing with Greg and Luis and Joel. It's just a really tight band and really enjoyable people, and so we have a really good time together. We're also looking forward to this July tour in Europe. It's going all over the place. We're going to play Helsinki and Paris and Amsterdam and all over Germany and Italy and France. So it's going to be a really fun European tour with no snow involved.
Well, Penelope Houston, thank you so much for joining us on Finn's Revolution on WUSB. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and we're going to be following to see if you keep to your word playing New York sometime in the future. And we'll all come out to see you.
Okay, great. That would be fantastic.
Thank you so much, Penelope, for joining us.
Okay, I look forward to seeing you all.
Bye-bye.